Today, we are gathered to understand the meaning behind the 14th stanza of the Stotra. Think of the situation in which a devotee seeks his Guru. What are the situations when you are very happy, when you are very sad, when you believe you are in trouble which is beyond your control, when you believe you need the grace of the Guru to attain the divine grace of Sri Hari, so that your problem or your solution or your situation or the issue in which you are in can be resolved with that divine grace. In any of these situations, the first attempt should be to reach the feet of the Guru. That is the sole purpose of understanding Sri Appannacharya's composition. When Sri Appannacharya wanted to see Rairu, in the end, before Rairu went into the Sajaiva Samadhi, Appannacharya decided he was not going to wait for Tungabhadra to, get out of the flood situation. He jumps in. He jumps into Tunga as it is in a very big spate, a turbulent spate of floods. And normally, on the day, a big saint is taking a Sajaiva Samadhi, all these nature turbulences will happen. You will see volcanic eruptions. You will see tsunamis. You will see there is going to be heavy rain showers. You will see there is going to be fires. You will see that there is floods in the river. Nothing will lead to death on that day, but it is nature's way of reacting and accepting the Sajaiva Samadhi of that Guru, because that Guru is now entering into an infinite trance upon the Lord. That is the state in which the Guru is going to be. And the devotee wants to see this Guru one last time. So what does he do? He starts composing the song and he starts swimming across. And as he starts composing the song, he decides that he is going to teach the new generation of disciples that will follow for many centuries how to understand the significance of this Guru. The stanza goes this way. Daya dakshinya vairagya vakpatva mukankitaha shapanugraha shakto nyo ragavendranya vidyate. Very simple. This is servitude. Once you surrender to the feet of the Guru, you are saying Daya dakshinya vairagya. Daya is what? Compassion. Dakshinya, straightforwardness. Vairagya, disposition for worldly objects. Vakpatva, skill in speaking, also called Vakchaturya. Mukha Ankita, like all these, somebody who is extremely compassionate, somebody who is straightforward, somebody who has a disposition for worldly objects, somebody who is an expert in speaking. You cannot debate with this person. You cannot stand in front of this person and think that you are going to pour whatever comes out of your mouth. It is impossible. That kind of a person is the one who will bless his devotees by freeing them from the various curses that are affecting them. Shapa anugraha. Shaktyo. Shaktyo is a capacity. Ragavendranya. Other than Sri Raghavendra, na vidyate. You cannot find somebody. So what Appanna does is, as he is swimming and then eventually running across Tunga, he prostrates to the Guru and he says, "O Gurudeva, you are so compassionate. You are so steadfast. You are straightforward, black and white, no shades of gray. You have no attachment to any worldly object. You have completely surrendered yourself in Harismarane for what? Not 1 or 2 days, for years, forgetting everything else. You are the one who has the strength to bless us, to be removed from our curses. Please bless. When Appanna is going across the Tunga, he is praying, please bless me right now. Remove this curse that I have put myself under to be away from you. Remove that curse. Please bless me. I want to come. I want to surrender myself in your feet. Oh Guru Raghavendra, please bless me. Our Guru is called Kalpavriksha, Kamadhenu, somebody who is ever giving. Now I'll give you 2 instances in Guru's life where he showed this Daya Dakshinya Vairagya. And these are instances that we have seen across in so many movies, in so many TV serials. We have read it in Rayaru's life. One is an incident where he goes to the house of a very pious Brahmin couple who have a young child that they are blessed with after many years of not having a child. And as Rayaru is performing Sri Rama Puja, he sees a bee fall into water. He takes a leaf and places the bee outside that water in that instance. And he continues the puja. Puja is over. Now, when the puja is over, he turns around and he says, where is the Yajamana? Where is the host and his wife? They are the ones that have to take a Tirtha Prasada first. Call them. I am done with the puja. I have to give them Tirtha. While Rayaru sees the bee fall into water, this young child of the couple who are hosting him falls into a big, hot vessel of saru or rasam and becomes unconscious. The child is not dead, but the child becomes unconscious. Obviously, if you suddenly fall into a liquid that is boiling hot, you are not going to have the strength to swim out. That liquid engulfs you instantly. So the Yajamana tells through another person who comes to the kitchen to call them, tell Rayaru that we can't come in front of him. Tell him that I have lost my child. Tell him that I am so sinned that I don't have the ability to show my face to him now. And both him and his wife cry. Not at the loss of the child, but that Rayaru has come to their house. Sri Ramachandra Murthy has come to their house. Sri Anjaneya Swami has come to their house. And in that divine setting, such an incident has occurred. The man wails. He says, in what janma did I do what papa, that in this janma I am not even able to show my face to Rayaru at this point. Rayaru says, don't worry. Ask them to come and ask them to bring the child. Who said the child is dead? Ask them to bring the child. So the couple decide, okay, if Rayaru is calling again, we have to go. Daya, Dakshinya, Vairagya. Rayaru is steadfast. He knows that this child has only become unconscious. How does he know that? Because the minute the bee falls into the water, he puts a leaf and he takes the bee out. And the bee is living after that. It didn't fly away immediately, but it is living. So Rayaru is steadfast. His bhakti in Rama is so infinite that he is seeing in his divine vision that the child is still alive very much. So the couple bring the child and place the body in front of Rayaru. And Rayaru tells the Yajamana, please open your palm. And he gives him tirtha. And he says, put the tirtha into the child's mouth. The Brahmana puts the tirtha into the child's mouth. The child just coughs and gets up. And everything is back to normal in less than 5 seconds. Shapa anugraha shakto. Shapa, whatever curse they had, they would have lost that child that day had Sri Rama not come to their house, had Anjaneya not come to their house, had Rayaru not performed the puja. So now this is one incident where you are understanding why Appanna composed this. The second incident happens when Rayuru is asked by Venkana to come and perform the same Sri Rama Puja in his residence when Rayuru goes to see the Nawab in Bijapur to ask for the Mantralaya land. Rayuru finishes the puja. The Nawab walks in. The Nawab is a very, very pious Muslim, but he is also a very arrogant Muslim because he believes that only Allah is God, everybody else is not a God. So he brings in a plate nothing but pure mutton, meat cut, and he covers it with a cloth. He shows it to Venkana and the other devotees of Rayuru, and everybody gasped. Nobody has the guts to open their mouth in front of Rayuru. Rayuru has closed his eyes and he is doing Rama Japa. He asks his servant to place that tray in front of Rayuru. Rayuru finishes his japa, opens his eyes. The Nawab says, "Oh, you are the guru that Venkana has asked me to come and see. So Diwan Saab keeps telling me about you all the time. Anyway, our welcome to you. There is a small gift in front. Please accept it in your puja." Now Venkana knows there is meat. Rayuru's devotees, the Brahmanas that come with him, know there is meat in it. The people in the town who have gathered to get blessings from Rayuru know there is meat in it. Rayuru takes water from his kamandala, sprinkles it on the cloth, and he says, "May Sri Rama accept these offerings given by the Nawab of Bijapur." And he opens and he tells his disciple, "Open the cloth." The disciple with trembling hands comes forward and opens the cloth. And what do people see? They see a big garland of roses, not meat. Now think for a minute, pause and think. Would Rayuru have not known that the Nawab had brought meat? Would Rayuru have not, in his divine vision, seen that the Nawab was going to insult him? Then why did Rayuru turn the meat into flowers? Rayuru's infinite grace, steadfastness. My Rama is supreme. My Rama is the universal spirit. My Rama will not worry about what you put in front of him. He will take it to what he wants to convert it to. That is his steadfastness. And then he removes the potential curse that the Nawab would have incurred of putting meat in front of Rama. All the Brahmanas would have cursed him instantly had Rayuru opened it and it was meat. So Rayuru gives him Shapa Nugraha. He saves the Nawab from getting cursed. Nawab instantly realizes his mistake and he falls down at Rayuru's feet and he weeps. And he says, "Oh Gurudeva, I have been a fool. I did not understand who you are. I am so sorry." So what Apannacharya tells us is, in his journey across the Tunga, as well as in that two instances of the Nawab and the Brahman couple and their son, Rayuru shows how he is full of daya always, how he is full of compassion, but how he is steadfast in his Rama Bhakti, and how in an instant he completely gives you the anugraha of getting rid of your sins. So to conclude the explanation, always when praying to Rayuru, whatever the stanza is that you say in the morning, if it's the whole Ashtotra, fantastic. If it's one stanza, that's good too. Pray to him first to absolve us, you, specifically each one of us, of all our sins that we do. Every minute we breathe, we kill so many good bacteria. That is also a sin. We don't think it as a sin. But in the life of a Brahmana, that is also a sin. In the life of a Kshatriya, that is also a sin. Even though the Kshatriya is a born warrior, he cannot kill beings that he has no control over. So those are the sins that we need to ask for forgiveness. And absolutely, all the human vices, we don't want to be affected by them. Our journey to get to Rayuru's feet is the journey for our Atma. The Atma's next iteration should be blessed so that even if there is a birth in the future based on past sins, we are still blessed with a birth where we will have the feet of Rayuru. So with that, we complete the explanation of the 14th stanza.